Infinitum, exceso de velocidad.
I will just give an introduction and you can sit down there with me.
Buenas tardes a todos. Le gusta mucho, 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 mucho.
Buenas tardes, vamos a comenzar. ¿Estamos listos? Bueno, muchas gracias. Para mí, como directora general de la Feria Internacional del Libro de Guadalajara y en nombre del comité organizador de nuestra feria, es un honor recibirles en esta sesión de Fil Pensamiento, un espacio concebido para escuchar voces que desde distintos ámbitos nos invitan a mirar el mundo con mayor lucidez, empatía y responsabilidad. Hoy es un día significativo, especialmente significativo para nuestra feria del libro, porque tenemos el privilegio de darle la bienvenida a un invitado cuya trayectoria artística, humanitaria y espiritual ha trascendido fronteras, Richard Gere. Conocido en todo el mundo por su brillante carrera cinematográfica, Richard Gere ha demostrado a lo largo de décadas que su presencia en la vida pública va mucho más allá del cine. Ha sostenido un compromiso profundo con la defensa de los derechos humanos, la promoción de la paz, la justicia social y la dignidad de los pueblos. Su voz, siempre firme y serena, ha acompañado causas que buscan aliviar el sufrimiento, proteger la vida y recordarnos que cada uno forma parte de una comunidad global que merece ser cuidada. Por eso es un privilegio escucharlo hoy en la charla Compasión en Acción, una custodia compartida del planeta que deja que la naturaleza y la comunidad nos muestren el camino. Un título que sintetiza de manera hermosa la urgencia de este momento histórico. Necesitamos una ética de corresponsabilidad, un compromiso compartido con la tierra y con quienes la habitamos. En un tiempo marcado por crisis ambientales, tensiones sociales y desafíos globales sin precedentes, la compasión, entendida no como un sentimiento abstracto, sino como una práctica cotidiana, puede convertirse en una brújula poderosa para orientar nuestras decisiones. Richard Gere ha insistido en múltiples foros en que la transformación comienza por la mirada, por la capacidad de reconocer en el otro, el humano o no humano, alguien con quien compartimos el destino. Esa visión de interdependencia tan presente en las filosofías orientales que él ha estudiado y apoyado, encuentra aquí un espacio idóneo para dialogar con las inquietudes de nuestro público, particularmente las y los jóvenes que cada día nos recuerdan la necesidad de imaginar un futuro distinto y luminoso. Agradecemos profundamente a Richard Gere, a la Fundación Richard Gere, que hayan aceptado la invitación de la FIL para compartir sus reflexiones, su sensibilidad y su experiencia. También doy las gracias a quien lo acompaña en esta ocasión, a la Secretaria de Medio Ambiente y Recursos Naturales de México, Alicia Bárcenas, por acompañarlo en esta charla. Agradezco de manera muy particular a Sergio Graf, al doctor Sergio Graf, también director general de la Comisión Nacional Forestal, a quien le voy a dar la palabra en unos momentos, y por supuesto también al Museo de Ciencias Ambientales de nuestra Universidad de Guadalajara. Muchas gracias a todas y a todos ustedes por acompañarnos esta tarde. Los dejo con ellos. Welcome, Richard. Thank you so much for your presence here. Thank you.
Buenas noches a todas y a todos. Hoy tenemos una conversación de lujo en la Feria Internacional del Libro. Tenemos a dos grandes personas que han trabajado por el bienestar de todos. Primero quiero presentar a Alicia Bárcena Ibarra. Es secretaria de Medio Ambiente y Recursos Naturales de México, bióloga, diplomática y académica, con una amplia trayectoria en el servicio público nacional e internacional, en los ámbitos de desarrollo sostenible, el medio ambiente y la política multilateral. Fue secretaria de Relaciones Exteriores, ocupó el cargo de secretaria ejecutiva de la Comisión Económica de América Latina y el Caribe, la CEPAL, de 2008 a 2022, después de haber sido secretaria ejecutiva adjunta y directora de la División de Medio Ambiente y Asentamientos Humanos de dicho organismo. Fue embajadora de México en Chile. En la CEPAL impulsó la incorporación del desarrollo sostenible, la igualdad y la agenda global de financiamiento al centro de las políticas públicas de la región. En el sistema de Naciones Unidas ha desempeñado responsabilidades claves, fue subsecretaria general de gestión de la ONU bajo la conducción de Ban Ki-moon y jefa de gabinete del entonces secretario general Kofi Annan. Asimismo, fue coordinadora del Programa de Desarrollo Sostenible de América Latina y el Caribe del Programa de Naciones Unidas para el Desarrollo y del Proyecto de Ciudadanía Ambiental del Programa de Naciones Unidas del Medio Ambiente, además de haber participado en diversas iniciativas sobre medio ambiente, desarrollo y ciudadanía global. Es autora Bueno, fue en México en 1932 la primera subsecretaria de Ecología en la entonces Secretaría de Desarrollo Urbano y Ecología, y en el 88 fue directora general del Instituto Nacional de Pesca. También ha trabajado como consultora de organismos internacionales y múltiples proyectos vinculados a la naturaleza. Esta sólida trayectoria la convierte en una voz de referencia para reflexionar sobre grandes desafíos ambientales y de desarrollo a nivel global. Bienvenida, me da mucho gusto presentar a Alicia Bárcena Ibarra.
Te faltó decir que soy tu jefa.
Y es mi jefa. Orgullosamente. Hoy tenemos un invitado muy especial en la Feria del Libro. Todos conocemos la trayectoria cinematográfica de Richard Gere, pero además de ser un gran actor, Richard es un referente de compromiso ético, espiritualidad y acción humanitaria. Se ha destacado por su incansable activismo en favor del pueblo tibetano y de los derechos humanos. Desde hace décadas ha puesto su voz, su tiempo y su influencia al servicio de la defensa del Tíbet, la preservación de su cultura y la denuncia de los abusos contra su población, siendo un importante portavoz global de la no violencia y la compasión. Richard Gere es un practicante convencido del budismo tibetano, camino que inició en los años 70 y que se consolidó a partir de su relación cercana con el Dalai Lama. Esta dimensión espiritual no es un elemento accesorio de su vida, no es una moda, sino el núcleo desde el cual articula su visión del mundo, su trabajo y su responsabilidad como figura pública. Fruto de esa visión nació su labor filantrópica, especialmente a través de la fundación que lleva su nombre. La Fundación Richard Gere ha apoyado proyectos de derechos humanos, preservación cultural y ayuda humanitaria en diversas regiones del planeta. Su acción filantrópica demuestra que la fama puede convertirse en herramienta concreta de cambio social. Sus acciones por el bien común incluyen también aspectos ambientales. La Fundación Gere, además de su trabajo humanitario, explicita entre sus objetivos el apoyo a causas ambientales y de justicia climática, financiando iniciativas que combinan la defensa de derechos, equidad social, sostenibilidad ecológica y el impulso de modelos de desarrollo regenerativo con un fuerte compromiso social que seguramente nos va a platicar de eso. Respalda organizaciones y campañas que promueven la preservación de recursos naturales, la transición de energías más limpias y la protección de comunidades vulnerables ante las crisis ambientales. Y ha colaborado con organizaciones como Survival International y proyectos editoriales sobre pueblos tribales, resaltando que la pérdida de sus territorios implica también pérdida de biodiversidad, de servicios ecosistémicos y de resiliencia al cambio climático. Ha sido una voz para transmitir a través de un lenguaje sencilla como narrador y rostro público de varios documentales sobre crisis climática, centrados en explicar los bucles de la retroalimentación que agravan el calentamiento global. A través de estas producciones ha contribuido a acercar conceptos complejos de la ciencia climática a audiencias más amplias, reforzando mensajes sobre la urgencia de abandonar los combustibles fósiles, proteger bosques y reducir emisiones. Esta noche nos acompaña no solo una estrella de cine, sino una persona que ha hecho de su trayectoria una plataforma para el servicio, el diálogo intercultural y la defensa de la dignidad humana. Para él, su familia y la amistad son valores esenciales en su día a día. Para nuestro gran gusto, estos valores involucran a España y a México. Para mí es un honor presentar a Richard Gere. The floor is yours. The floor is yours. Thank you.
Bueno, imagínense ustedes lo que significa moderar a Richard Gere. Pues, hombre, la fama caminando. Pero primero quiero preguntarles, ¿cómo están? Ahora vamos a tener que pasar al inglés, ¿ok? Bueno, we're gonna switch to English because it's okay. It's okay. Great. So you can take those off, and we can start. First of all, I want to thank very especially Marisol. Where is Marisol? Thank you so much, Marisol,
for inviting us to this very important occasion, I guess.
Yes, brava.
Brava, brava, bravissima. And thank you so much to you and to Sergio for that kind introduction. I was going to say that maybe Richard and I can leave after this introduction.
Now we have to
You
live
see
up
what I
to
mean?
all these wonderful
That's-
things, which I don't know if
exactly,
is possible.
Isn't that difficult? That's going to be tough. But one of the things I think everybody wants to know about you is your journey. How comes that an actor and a film producer like you, transited like you, what is your journey? How do you come up of being such a wonderful actor that everybody knows you for many reasons? And how did you become who you are today? A humanitarian, you have environmental commitments, a soul to share with us today, a word that is the name of the panel, compassion. Tell us about it, please, Richard.
Now, the first thing that occurs to me, by the way, I asked her in advance, I'm going to call her Alicia, okay? She's not the minister. This is my friend Alicia.
Thank you. And I'm going to call you Richard.
Please.
No, Mr. Gere. No.
But
Okay.
my wife comes from the north of Spain, from Galicia, so I'm calling her Alicia. Okay.
Fantastic.
All right, so you asked me a question. I said, first of all, I'm 76 years old.
Wow.
I don't know how that happened. Because I still feel like I'm 26. But this happens. I remember the Dalai Lama was asked once about time. He said, what do you think about time? And His Holiness said, I like time. And he said, why? Because without time, nothing would change. And I think that's something that we all have to learn to embrace, is change. Nothing ever stays the same. Everything is always changing. Our minds are changing. Our friends change. Our bodies change. Our thoughts change. The universe changes. The idea of ourself, the idea of others changes, matures. And I see that in myself over these years, is that these ideas of what we are taught maybe as children is what the world is, what we are, what is our relationship, how do we make a life that's meaningful? Is there meaning? Is this a dark, cold universe? Or is there something more for all of us? And I think that's an ongoing process in all of our hearts and minds, is to keep pushing forward with some sense of courage. We were just talking about courage before we came on stage, but a sense of courage to even give up the idea of yourself that we all protect so much, the idea of me, which ultimately is a construct. There's no me that can be pinpointed. I see that there's a me now, but always changing, just an idea. And as I get older, I feel that more deeply inside of myself, that maturing sense that I don't really exist the way I appear to exist to myself or others. And the same thing out there. You know, there's, I don't know how many people here, 500 people, something like that. There's 500 stories here. There's 500 me's. But that's only from a certain point of view. From an ultimate point of view, from a physics point of view, from a quantum point of view, from a Buddhist point of view, there is no separation. There's no ultimate separation. There's the illusion of that. But if we can penetrate that illusion and feel like we're coexisting stories that are swirling around each other, and can really feel that deep in our hearts, then radically everything changes. There's no way we can be cruel to each other. There's no way we can be crude. There's no way we can be violent with each other. That there's a genuine sense of compassion and commitment that emerges from challenging the basic idea that I exist the way I appear to exist. and start to give in to the idea that we are really all of us in this together. And together we can make a garden of our lives, make a garden of the universe. Not that hard. It's actually much harder to embrace and keep feeding this idea that we're separate. That takes a lot of energy. Much easier to just go, oh, wow, we're really here together. Completely interconnected. So, you know, my voyage into philosophical thought, or ultimately Buddhism, and my incredible luck and gratitude I have for being a student of the Dalai Lama and other great teachers has made these words I'm saying a little closer to something I really feel inside of my heart.
It's beautiful because your journey is so amazing. And tomorrow there's going to be a documentary that you produced, you were the executive producer, that is called Wisdom of Happiness. Can you tell us a little bit about that? And can we invite these 500 people to watch that documentary?
If I got this
Is
right,
that
it's at
Marisol?
noon tomorrow?
Can everybody come to see the documentary?
10 o'clock. It's 11 o'clock.
11 o'clock, where?
11 o'clock, you're all invited. All of my friends here, all of my brothers and sisters.
No.
No, it's a film that I don't even know how to describe it, because it's not really a documentary. It's sort of a documentary because
Conversation.
it's partly a conversation, it's partly a teaching, it's partly a history lesson, it's partly a celebration of 90 years of an extraordinary man's life. But it's also an exploration of the life that we live. And in some ways dissecting this moment on this planet this moment of chaos and confusion and post-traumatic stress disorder that we are all feeling in right now, trying to make sense of all of this chaos. So ultimately, you're able to spend an hour and a half with the Dalai Lama. And I don't want to program it too much, what you're going to see, but please come and see this movie.
You know, the thing is that the world, you were talking about the current crisis that we are going in the world. And part of the crisis, my dear Richard, is I would say, the coming of President Trump, who has created a very chaotic and a very, I would say, unstable, uncertain reality that we're living today. So all these global challenges, it seems to me that we are going through a change of era in a way, you know, that something is going to emerge, that we're going to leave something behind and something else is going to emerge, but we are not still there. This was really a Gramsci's thought, and he wrote about it, a world that is not ready to go and a world that is not ready to come in, but monsters are between. So tell us a little bit about how do we rebuild trust? How do we rebuild hope? How to offer some emotional tools in a world of crisis?
You know, I think most of the things we experience, we can look at one way or another. We can be very pessimistic and see this is the end of the world, or we can see it as a genuine challenge. And I choose to see this moment as one of challenge, where the bad guys on the planet are challenging us to stand up for who we really are and the world we really want to live in, for ourselves, our kids, our grandchildren. Look, as an American, I'm deeply ashamed of this president we have. No. That's not, I don't want that to be an applause line, because it's something It's a challenge to all of us. And we were talking before, your president is pretty amazing, how she's able to deal with this guy. So I applaud her. But clearly we have someone here, and it's not just Trump, we have Orban, we have Putin, we have Netanyahu, we have bad players on the planet right now with enormous power. And from our point of view, I would say probably most of us in this room, they are on the wrong side of history. They're on the wrong side of the present. They're on the wrong side of the future. But it's a challenge to all of us to stand up and to be counted, to be responsible. In this movie that we made with His Holiness, of course, he's talking about spiritual values and basic kindness and love and compassion through a filter of wisdom and skill, but it's one of responsibility and courage to stand up. And not out of anger and hatred, but out of wisdom and a passion towards the garden that we all could be living in. You don't get the garden unless you plant the seeds and you water it. You take care of it. That's our responsibility. We have bad leaders. Let's make sure we don't do that again. We don't allow the bad guys to be our representatives in the world. We want leaders who actually share the same vision of possibility and inclusion. No matter what your color is, your language is, your sexual preference, whatever it may be. Any government that's not inclusive is not the right government. Any leader who's not inclusive is not the right leader. That's an applause line. I'd like to hear that applause.
I think everybody agrees. You know, the thing is that we were talking about something before we came into stage, and that was that you need courage to go for nonviolence, to go for compassion, to go for, you know, what you're talking about. You need the courage to make a decision that you're not going to be defensive, that you're going to leave your ego behind. I think these are the kind of things that we're talking about.
The cycle of violence only stops if one side stops.
Right. You need two
And
to
you
tango.
stopped because you have the courage and the wisdom and ultimately the love and compassion to see this, who you can label the bad guy, is a human being who's under the influence of a disease right now. And that they can be healed. But it takes patience. All medicine takes time for the fever to come down. And then a base kind of profound healing can happen. But that happens through courage, through wisdom, patience, maturity. I mean, clearly this president we have is not a mature human being. This is not someone who has emotional intelligence. He behaves like a child. And with any child, I don't know, I see a lot of people that have children here. Who has children? Could it see, raise hands? I think there's a lot of students here who don't have children.
Yet.
The patience that you need when you have children, and I have 4, is extraordinary. But a man like this President Trump, you have to treat him like a child who has impulse control problems. But that's the way we change. Anger obviously doesn't take us to a good place. Hatred doesn't take us to a good place. Love, compassion, patience does. But it has to be used skillfully. And that comes from the wisdom side of understanding reality, understanding who we are at base. And from the Dalai Lama's point of view, my point of view, is at base we are kind and we are generous. And we're always leaning towards love, all of us. If we're given half a chance, always leaning towards love, leaning towards basic kindness, a good heart. And that's our job, is to, with courage, follow that instinct.
But you know, the thing is that I'm very concerned that we have very little time for some things, like climate change. like biodiversity loss, like a world of inequality.
Well, you should talk about Belém and
see?
what you experienced there at
Yeah,
COP.
and I can tell you that experience to everybody here. I was in Brazil for the COP30, and I was amazed to see something that I'm going to share with you. We didn't miss the United States. Sorry to say that. We didn't miss the US. We were very worried that Trump stepped out of the Paris Accord, and I thought that everybody was going to be, concerned. But I was very happy to see Europe coming forward with a lot of strength, Asia coming up with a lot of strength, Latin America, this was a Latin American COP, Brazil was very strong too. Of course, we wanted much more than we got, what we got, but we got things that are very important. We got an adaptation fund, because I think the world needs today to adapt to climate change. It's so strong what's happening, The loss and damages are already happening. It already happened here in Mexico 1 month ago. We had a tremendous amount of floods that were very, destructive of many towns. So we are already living the climate change. So what I'm worried about is when you talk about time with Dalai Lama, do we have time to cope with this problem like climate change?
Yeah, I don't mean be passive. This is not passive standing up. It's the opposite. And these kind of things, look, again, I'm deeply shamed. How could I have a president who says that climate change is a hoax?
Exactly.
I mean, it's madness. Madness. And what he's doing now to open up pristine lands to sell off, rights to gasoline and minerals, etc. It's insane. It's insane. What he's done in terms of USAID and the great programs that the U.S. has evolved over many, many decades that genuinely helps people around the world. The USAID was saving tens of millions of lives every year, working especially in poor countries, and especially in Africa. First day, he stops this. I mean, this is madness, madness. And I don't want to dwell on him, but let's go back to the idea of courage and self-sacrifice that it takes to stop the bad guys. It takes a lot of courage. It takes a serious commitment. It's not words. It's putting yourself on the line. And it's not in the sense of, I'm going to get a gun like a terrorist and kill all the bad guys. It's standing up in unity with others. There's no bad guy who could stand up to the millions and millions and billions of people who have a vision of possibility, a vision that is pure and loving and kind and generous. We know there's enough food on this planet for everybody. There's enough, at this moment, clean water for everybody. There's shelter for everybody. There's health care for everybody. The hoarding of the resources that we're seeing, especially in the US, but we're seeing it in China now, too. Trillionaires, when people are starving. I mean, this is madness. This is an outrage. How can we be passive in the face of that? So the courage to stand up and say no is really what's required right now. It's not sitting there, oh, things will work out in the end. No, the Dalai Lama says it, you say it. If you want to change the world, you have to be in the world. And you have to challenge all those things that we take for granted. Well, I'm small. The bad guys want you to feel small. The bad guys want to separate you from each other. They want us to feel alone and powerless. But we're not alone and we're not powerless. We can make the world we want.
Yes, indeed. Now, the ingredient that we need is to work together.
Together in community, yes.
Because, for example, climate change needs action, joint action, and simultaneous action. It doesn't make any difference if I make something on my own. I need everybody to do the same, And for example, one of the main outcomes of Brazil that I really cherish enormously is for the first time the Brazilians are willing to protect the Amazonian. For the first time. There was a big result, which is Tropical Forest Forever, TFFF, which was an agreement. We are part of TFFF, and that means how do we protect the tropical forest of the world simultaneously? Otherwise, we're going to lose the biodiversity, and that's something that we need to do together. But this comes together with another thing that you have been working on, Richard, quite a lot and very strongly on human rights. And this is a value that I think we need to bring back to the forefront, human rights. I think we're living a little bit on the edge of human rights. And I'm sure that the young people that are here, who here is younger than 25 years old? Younger than 25 years old? Okay, all right. Yes? You, so everybody is younger than 25 years old. Richard said at the beginning that he felt like 25 years old, didn't he? So everybody should raise their hands. Anyway, but we all want to change the world. That's what we want. We don't like what we're seeing today. We want a world that is better, that has biodiversity, that has respect for indigenous peoples, that has respect for women. How many women are in the room? Exactly. We are more than half, I guess, in this room, probably. So, but the gender perspective is so important. So I wonder if you can tell us a little bit how you see these things. How do we bring back these values, these profound values of human rights, of I don't know, participation of the community level that you have been working so.
There's a moment in this film with His Holiness the Dalai Lama, and he talks about compassion, and he goes into detail how he really learned about compassion from his mother. And he goes deeply into that. I mean, he worshipped his mother, and she was so kind and so loving, and that was the inspiration that this is really who I am, is compassion. And he took it a little further and he said, you know, I think we need more women leaders in this world.
Yes.
And it's very interesting because in Tibetan paintings, they're called tankas, but they represent, there's two basic things that are the mind streams of Buddhism. One is compassion, which we could go into in more detail. The other is wisdom. So it's compassion and wisdom. Compassion it's a vast subject, compassion.
Tell us about it. Tell us about compassion.
From an emotional point of view, from a psychological point of view, this is an evolution of feeling. And there are words associated with that in English, and I think they're probably similar in Spanish. But the basic warm heart is part of our nature. It's basically kind beings. We have a basic kindness to us, a warmth to us. You see that? I love you too, honey. That's the next word I was going to get to. So we have a warm heart, kindness. Another evolution of maturing of that is love. And what does love really mean? We think about love, we understand love. Let's be specific about love. Love is, I want you to be happy.
Yep.
Simply that. It's not like I want you to love me. I want you to be happy. I love you. That's pure love. So then there's another level of that. It matures and becomes more deep. And he said, I want you to be, I love you, I want you to be happy. But I'm looking at you and I know you're not happy. You're suffering. There are things wrong. You're frustrated. There are real things that have happened to you. You're suffering in your heart and your mind. And And I don't like that. I want it to go away. That's compassion. I understand you're hurting, and I want that hurt to go away. That's what compassion means. And we can make that universal. You could say, look, to every single one of you, my kind heart goes, I love you, but I say, wow, you're not really happy. There's some levels of things going on. I want that to go away. I want that to go away. There's another level then of maturity that says, I'm going to do that. I'm going to take that suffering away from you. Now that's a high, high level. So that's Jesus Christ, you know, that's the Buddha. Is able to do that because they've so extinguished their own sense of self-cherishing that all they are is compassion and love and altruism. So that's a wide range of possibilities of something that we would generally call love. But it's ever deepening and becomes more universal as that deepens. So this movie that I said, you spend an hour and a half with someone who has become altruism. There's no subject-object anymore. It's that spontaneity of love, compassion, altruism. That it's all that's possible for us to achieve. But it's work. You work at that. You build on that. You want to play the piano? You practice, right? You practice every day. You want to be good at jiu-jitsu? You got to practice every day. You build muscles? You do that. But you could do that with your emotions, too. You could do it to build. Oh, I can feel my warm heart. Wow, that's who I really am. I'm fragile, warm heart, kind. It's okay. You can build on that to love. I want you to be happy. I know you're suffering. I want that suffering to go. I'm going to do it. The courage of that. And that's the kind of courage that we all have to have with each other. And it's amazing, if you can imagine how quick the world changes. Here's 500 people. We walk out of here with that kind of courage. I want to remove all the suffering of the world. I'm going to do it, and we're going to do it together. All of us together, we're going to do this. And we're going to support each other in that process. We go out and we see 500 other people, and that another 500 engaged, 1,000, 10,000, 1 million, 1 billion, the entire universe going. There's no space within 1 billion people going, I love you, I want you to be happy, I wanted you to remove your suffering, I'm going to do it with you. There's no space for the bad guys in that. There's no space for a Trump or a Xi Jinping or an Orban or a Putin or whoever the bad guys are that we want to say. There's just no room for it. But we have to have the courage to stand up and say, I love you, you're suffering, and I'm going to take that suffering away from you.
Now, how do we do this to achieve social justice? How do we achieve social justice and environmental justice? Because here we are, many of us, working on environment for many years, and you are also working on environment, and we want to achieve social justice, but we know that social justice without environmental justice is not possible. And to have environmental justice, we need to bring in the communities. We need to bring in the people with us. And you have done a tremendous job on that front. I would like to hear from you, and I think everybody wants to hear from you, what you're doing in Mexico. You're doing such a fantastic job. Wow, okay.
Mexico.
Yes. First of all, what are you doing in Mexico, first place? Of course, participating in the fair, which is fantastic. But secondly, I know you're doing a fantastic job in Jalisco. And here, in this wonderful state of Jalisco. So I want you to tell us that experience, and also, not only that, how do you convince the communities to join you? You know, it's not easy. The communities are, in a certain way, disenchanted, yes, because of the social justice, the lack of social justice, or because the big capital, maybe you can also tell us a little bit the vision of the big capital. How do you bring the big capital together with social justice? Because you are working on a social justice project with environmental justice, with the participation of people in the communities? How do you get there? And who's
Well,
helping you with that?
Yeah, I mean, as we were speaking about before, and anyone who's trying to do good work in the community, you can't take one piece of that puzzle of a social network of how we live together and isolate that and work on it and think you're really going to change the whole environment. I think we have to be humble enough to realize how big it really is and how holistically we have to see things. And there's no one person, one organization, one government that can do that. You know, there's certain things that I can do well, you know, and I try to use that thing, whatever it is my thing is, but I can't do everything. I've got Sergio Graf. Where's Sergio? So right here. So Sergio knows everything about Jalisco. He's a great environmentalist. He's the scientist, you know, he's the man who knows all this stuff. I can't do my work without him. He can't do his work without someone like me and Alicia. This is how we work together. Now, in terms of working in the communities, the humility of listening is super important.
Wow.
Just listening. In most of these communities I've found, when I've worked around the world on different things, whether it's in the Mediterranean, pulling people out of the water who are simple refugees, escaping. Migrants, really refugees. And in India, certainly with refugee communities, HIV communities, whatever, people have had do-gooders come into their communities without patience, thinking that they can tell them what is going to fix their problems. And I've certainly been in that place myself. I'm humble enough to say I've made the mistake of thinking I know what is going to fix people's situations. I don't know. You don't know. But you can find out. And you find out by listening and spending time. I remember, I'm digressing, but this thing of listening is really important and being humble. I remember Shimon Peres was talking to me once.
Absolutely.
And Shimon Peres was he was the prime minister and the president too, he was both.
He was the prime minister, yes.
And in Israel. And he was making the deal with Yasser Arafat.
Yeah, absolutely.
And he was telling me about how he made the deal.
It was 1995, actually, right.
And he said he had basically made the deal with Yasser Arafat, and he came back to celebrate with his people. And then one of his associates, he said, "Did you get the cemetery?" And Shimon says, "What cemetery?" He said, we have to have that cemetery, the Jewish cemetery. And he went, "Oh my God, I just made the deal, I can't." I said, "Okay, I'm going back." So he told him where the cemetery was, and it was right there. So he put it on the map, and he took the map, and it was in Camp David. And he went down the hallway, and all the Yasser Arafat's guards are there, and they kind of wave him through, and he knocks on Yasser Arafat's door. Yasser Arafat comes to the door, and he goes, "Shimon, what can I do?" And Shimon says, "Mr. Arafat," he says, "you can't do anything for me. I'm small. You are large. You're a general. I'm a civilian. Your people love you. My people hate me. I'm nothing." Arafat says, "Shimon, come in." So he says, "Tell me what's wrong. How can I help you?" And he says, "I need the cemetery." So he says, "Show me." So he's got this map, and he takes it out, and he says, "Dad, you've got to give me that, or they'll kill me." So Arafat says, "Bring me the pen." So they bring him a pen, and he goes around the cemetery and gives it back to him.
Yours. Wow.
Humility. Humility. Humanness. You know, we have a president who obviously lacks humility. He pretends to be a tough guy. You don't get anything of value being a tough guy. Through listening, humility, we get everything.
But you know, having Shimon Peres and Yasser Arafat made a deal, actually. They did. It was in Davos when they had a handshake and they were really going to change the world. But there was some evil that came and killed Shimon Peres. So that's when you still think and say, okay, how do we reconstruct that? It was Isaac Rabin. It was Isaac Rabin. You're right. But they were making a deal. They were really ready for peace.
They were very close, yeah.
Very close. So what can we do to confront that situation? And I think that that's what we need. People that are humble enough to talk to each other, to listen, as you very well say. And how do we build...
It's one more cup of coffee. And basically saying, tell me about your children.
Exactly. No? And
How
a
are you
tequila,
doing?
I mean, Jalisco would love a tequila with you. Don't you? Yes. Can we share a tequila? But no, the problem is Richard just told me that he doesn't drink. No. Too bad. Too very bad. But anyway, a small tequila would be good, I guess, for these kind of occasions. Just to try
I
one.
used to love my wine. I loved white wine.
Okay, so we are okay there. Very good, because I was a little bit worried because I say, if this guy doesn't drink, then we have a problem. But we don't, thank God. But anyway, let me come back to your project in Jalisco, because I think it's something that everybody would be very interested to know. How does Richard Gere and why is he committed to do something in Jalisco?
Jalisco.
Why
Okay.
and where and how and with whom? And how is this project going to evolve? And how can we, all of us here, help to make it happen?
Okay, how much time do we have?
That's, I don't know. Marisol, how much time?
Because this can be a long story or a short story.
Okay. ¿Qué?
Stretch it, long story.
We want the story, don't we? Queremos la historia, queremos saber por qué Richard Gere está en Jalisco, por qué está trabajando aquí, con quién está trabajando, cómo se acerca a las comunidades, por qué se llama este proyecto de la Sierra al Mar. I'm speaking in Spanish a little bit just to,
Okay.
to make a little bit of a difference. But it's called From Rich to Reef. What are you doing? What do you want to achieve? What do you want to get?
Okay, so this is how it happened. So I'm doing not the shortest version and not the longest version. This is the medium version, okay? No charge. So my wife and I were doing a project, and it was an ecological, environmental project in Dominican Republic, in a very beautiful place. And it was close to New York. It was a 3-hour flight from New York, which was great because we could go back and forth easily. And we did an enormous amount of work. We got very excited about this. And in the end, we realized that our partners weren't genuine. They didn't really believe it. They really wanted the money.
Oh, okay.
And we weren't into it for the money at all. It was, for us, it was completely a giveaway of service. But it was an incredibly beautiful place, and the communities were lovely. We saw so many possibilities there. We really worked hard on this project, and that was over. My wife, who is Spanish from Galicia, she had a job here that she was coming to Guadalajara.
Wow, okay.
Go figure. And she's on a plane she was in Madrid, flying to Guadalajara. And sitting next to her was a friend, Geronimo Bremer. And they'd known each other. They had kids in school together in Madrid. But they never talked about what they did. So this long flight, they start talking, and he was a very responsible and conscientious developer in Mexico. he was Mexican. And she started talking to him about his project. It was identical to what we were doing in Dominican. So she called me, she got here, she said, you won't believe what happened. I met Geronimo, they're doing a project that's identical to what we're talking about. It's responsible, it's saving this incredible area, beautiful villages, and this is going to be something that will show the world how you can do this incredible work. And I'm going, I'm not interested. I've been through this horrible situation in Dominican. She said, let me send you a video. So my wife went with the Bremers and also Ricardo Santa Cruz right here, who's one of our partners in this, and went to Chala, where they were doing this project, south of Puerto Vallarta. She showed me this video, and I went, oh my God. This is one of the most beautiful places I've ever seen in my life, in Jalisco. Almost completely untouched, no development. I keep forgetting how many thousands of acres there's, how many? 1,200 hectares, and most of it along the beach. This incredible, from the mountains right down through the double and triple dunes to the ocean. And there were turtles everywhere. This was a turtle protectorate also in this area. With leopards were coming through there. It was a corridor for the big cats coming through there. And with the peoples in the local villages were wonderful and relatively happy. You know, this is a paradise. So now, I won't do the long story, I'll do the short version now, but I flew here and I realized that I had been here 35 or 40 years ago with my first wife and had felt like I was in Africa 150 years ago. It was that beautiful and untouched. So I fell in love with it. So I became a partner, my wife became a partner in this development, which I prefer to call a sanctuary, that needed investors, has to have money involved, but a responsible developing of this extraordinary area. And the premise was really working with the local people and spending the time to listen. And how could their lives be benefited by the development in this area? A conscientious, responsible development. Years of listening, I realized they had done already. My wife and I started the listening process of what would make them happy, what would make their life special for their kids, for their grandchildren. And how could they feel in partnership, not abused in the process, or not feeling like there's a rich person's ghetto there in the middle of their land, but a real partner in it, a sense of community. And our vision was my kids would be playing with their kids, that we would all be on a level playing field, and that garden that I spoke about before, this Eden, but not, as a phrase I especially like, it says, the simplicity that I seek is on the other side of complication, meaning it's hard won. You know, it's solid, because it took work to get there. So the process was, let's work with right here in our own community. And we realized little by little that it was clear all the systems, the ecological systems, the working systems of farms, of fishing, of salt workers, I mean, everything, the women's opportunities in that area, everything was interconnected. And to work on one thing, you had to work on everything. And they first started working on the water systems there and did extraordinary work of bringing water to that area and starting to clean up the mangroves and the water movement, which had been disturbed by bad practices of farming. But the correctives started to happen. And it took years to create the trust and the buy-in from the local people that they weren't going to be used. In fact, this was something that was going to be good for them. So then we realized that this had to be much larger than that area of 1,500 hectares. It needed to be that whole coast, which was still pristine. Some big landowners, you know, it included the Kushmala, and I'm losing my mind. The goldsmiths had huge property there that had been saved. But if you're not a billionaire and can just buy it and save it, how can you actually do it in the real world? So you have investors, you have the local communities, you have all social systems, you have water systems, you have everything. You know, of course, you have to touch all of it. To do that, you can't do it as private citizens. You need partnerships. So partnerships with the local governments over here, the local governments in Jalisco, the national governments, you know, the will of extraordinary ministers here, our friend Alicia, that you can start to have vast plans and see how that we can work together. Everyone is good at certain things. You know, this extraordinary woman is, I realized too that we probably met each other when she worked for Kofi Annan.
I'm sure.
And which was, how long ago was that, 30 years ago?
It was 2006, 2007. Yes,
Well,
20
years ago. Yeah?
Wow.
So I think
How did I let
we
you
must have
go?
met at that time.
How did I let you go? I don't know. I mean, I'm kidding. My husband is here.
Anyhow, the basis of this story is that, one, there's a will to make it better. The will to have a positive vision. And then the will to search out other people who could have a similar vision and bring their expertise and energy to that project, that possibility. In this case, the possibility of an Eden, which is on the other side of complication. Something that we really own because it was hard work to get there. But in the process, we've created community. And once you create community around something it's creative, it's beautiful, it's timeless, that same energy can be used for other purposes. And I hate to say this, but in terms of government, in terms of political movements, in terms of all kinds of things, once you create coalitions around a pure vision, that can go endlessly in extraordinary places that you can't even imagine in this moment. But how that basic good heart, that heart of compassion, that heart of positive visions can radically change everything, and it can happen very quickly.
Now, the thing is, how do we replicate this experience that you're having with us, which is wonderful, in which you included people, no? Included the communities, the fisherman and woman. You were telling me that there were a lot of
very
women.
important to us. The foundation that was, that Ricardo was very much a part of, the Shala Foundation, has a social component and very much focused on women. And one thing that I'm very committed to is creating a micro-lending institution very much like Muhammad Yunus has given the world. And I think it would be extraordinary there. But the empowerment of women is, I think, central to this kind of work.
Now, how do we bring big capital? Because at the end of the day, the foundation, Richard Gere Foundation, which you are the head of, we need foundations like yours to come and build projects like the one we're talking about. Now, what do we need? What are the ingredients we need to have? Because you were saying that your bad experience in Dominican Republic, no? That these people wanted your money, punto. Now, these people here don't want your money. They want their environment. They want their social and environmental environment to be preserved. And they are finding a way to do it together among themselves and with you. The question is, how do we convince other big capital to do the same?
Well, it's like casting a film, honestly. I mean, there are good capitalists. There are good developers. There are good banks. They're people of enormous resources. Not everyone, but creating partnerships with the ones that do have a sense of genuine responsibility. They can't do everything. You know, frankly, we've met several people here over the last couple of days who are extraordinary, very wealthy, but I'm amazed at their good hearts and their commitment to doing good things in the world, and especially for their community, you know, here. So they're players. You know, I see a wheel of change that at root, it's a human issue. If you don't feel it in your heart, nothing good happens. So I look to the NGOs who are always poor.
Always.
But they got good hearts, and they're trying to do something, and it's a 24/7 job for them. I've never seen an NGO that worked 10 to 5. This is like incredible commitment of time and energy. They basically don't have time for their families because they're so committed to make this enterprise work and make it work for others. So that's the first connection I see in a wheel of change. Then, of course, you need resources. If you can find some people who have a little money that can up the game, you know, make capacity building. Now, if it's a really good idea and it has large possibilities, another part of this change, I feel, is communication. To have press involved, to have journalists involved, to tell the story so that other people can understand in a good way, a positive way that empowers a reader to be involved and care about this and feel like it's worth their time and energy. Another part of that change is very often it's someone like me who people know and have a history that they kind of trust. And I'm humble about this, but I'm thankful that basically people trust where I'm coming from.
Absolutely.
So I try to use that in service of the NGOs. That's all. This is not about me. I would rather Sergio was up here talking about what he's been doing his entire life to help people in the environment than me. But we do this together, so I play my part. On this wheel of change, usually I put government at the very end.
Please don't.
But since I met Alicia, I'm putting government right in the front. Because we have a commitment to work together here as partners on doing this extraordinary project of saving 100 kilometers on the coast from the mountains out into the sea. 100 kilometers. And the commitment has been made today. So please give her an applause.
No, both. One very crucial question here.
See, she can't go back on it now. It's a public commitment.
It's a public commitment that we just made together with the Secretary of Environment. ¿Dónde estás? Ahí estás. Bueno, ahora vamos a hacer una cosa. Vamos a ver, Marisol. ¿Me das la oportunidad de tomar 2 o 3 preguntas del público? I'm going to take a couple of questions from the public. So be ready. So let me see. 3 manitas, una de acá y una de acá. Vamos a empezar acá. Vamos. Adelante. A microphone to him, please. Yes, there it goes.
Thanks, Richard, to share a beautiful message to all the people here. You're really touching many lives with your beautiful message. So I just want to ask you about which is the main advice that you want to share to all the young people to protect the planet? And the second question for you is how we can face the violent moments without losing the hope. Thanks.
Thank you for the question.
Your name.
My name is Eduardo Granados. It's a pleasure,
Eduardo.
Richard.
Gracias,
I'm
Eduardo.
really nervous. So thanks for the chance to do the question.
Gracias. I think, look, let me share with you. When I was a kid, I was so shy, I couldn't speak. I felt very small and powerless. And the only time that I didn't feel powerless was at night, and I would climb out of my window in my house, and I'd lie in the wet grass looking up at the sky and the stars, and I felt part of the universe, and I felt the power of the universe. But in myself, I was felt shy and small. I think all of us, but especially kids, have to realize how vast you really are. And don't believe anyone who tells me you're limited in any way whatsoever. You are vast, way beyond what you can imagine. So hold that in your heart and work on it. And every time forces are telling you you're small, go, nah, I'm not small. I'm vast. Now, in the face of the dark things that happen on the planet, they're a challenge. They're not the end. None of it is the end. And everything changes. Even the bad stuff changes. Look, as I said, I'm 76 years old. I've had a lot of bad things happen. And as a kid, you think whatever that bad moment is endless. It's always going to be there. When you get to be an old dog like me, you realize the bad things change, the good things change, everything changes. There's another breath, there's another day. That's just the way it is. Change is good. Time is good. Change is good. But you can ride change. You can go with it. And then, if you get really good at it, you can actually start to direct change. So you see someone like the Dalai Lama, these great yogis of any spiritual tradition, they ride change and direct it, in an extraordinary way. Don't believe anyone who says the status quo, this horrible status quo, is always going to be here. That's a lie. And you have enormous influence. Now, of course, as we've been saying this whole time, the subtext of everything is that change you want happens together. When we band together, the bad guys never win. Never. It's a struggle, and there's going to be pain, but the bad guys don't win. So stick together, all you vast, vast kids, and we'll win.
With a dream, with a project, with something that guides you, I guess. Gracias, Eduardo. Let's go this way. A woman here, you are. Nombre, estudias o trabajas. No, no es cierto. No, tu nombre.
Tania Muller Garcia, congratulations to both of you. It was a great conversation. My question is, knowing how challenging it is in the global south to empower women in terms of climate change, in terms of the work you're doing in the community, what would your recommendation be for that women empowerment, especially in these small communities? Thank you.
Good question. Tu nombre?
Tania Muller Garcia.
Tania, preciosa, gracias. And she was the head of environment in Mexico City. ¿Yo? Ay, nanita, ay, nanita. How to empower women? I think that we have to stand together. Nothing should be done without us. We women have to always be at the upfront. We are not victims. We are not victims. We have been victims of violence many times, but we should not stand up as victims. We are owners of our destiny, and we have to search for autonomy, economic, social, political autonomy. And I think the best thing we need to do is listening to the women in these communities that Richard is talking about. And I'm sure we can learn so many things from women, but we need to recognize them. We need to lift their hearts, as you very well say. They are vast. You just said it to Eduardo. And I think women also are vast, very vast, but they need recognition and to be held up in dignity. My response, now let's hear Richard.
Yeah, I remember talking to Muhammad Yunus. I don't even know if everyone knows who he is. Do we know who Muhammad Yunus is? So he started the Goman Bank, and it was the beginning of really codifying how to do micro-lending. And he experimented a lot with how to do it. And in the end, what he found was the only time it worked is when he lended money to women. And it wasn't just to one woman. Through experimentation, it was at least 5 women together. And when he did that, he got a payback of 99% that they paid back their loans. Men, it was like 5% paid back. A woman alone was 60%. 5 women together, 99% payback. And why? Because bands of women together, a community of women are so powerful. They look after each other, much more than men do.
Yes. Incredible. And you said something that I think is very, very interesting to know, that Dalai Lama learned a lot from his mother. I think this is amazing. And in this documentary, which is not a documentary but a conversation, where Dalai Lama is saying that women, united women, can change the world. Together with men, don't leave men out. No, we need them. We need them. Yes, we want them. We love them.
I think what he was saying was, men are okay if they're like women.
Exactly. Just that.
So, just that sense of solidity that a woman has, incredible solid patience. Men don't have that. I don't have that. Women, that solid thing that a woman has. Men can have it too. So men are okay if they have some of that feminine, vast compassion quality to them, a vast wisdom. What I was going to say before, in terms of the symbolism of Tibetan tankas, paintings. So you have compassion and wisdom. In that symbolism, men, the masculine, is compassion. Women are wisdom. Wisdom is the highest faculty of intelligence, is the wisdom realizing that everything is empty of inherent existence. Wow. Wisdom is women. So, I don't know if I can talk this way. As you give birth to the universe, but the universe of action. And in this symbolism, men are the action coming out of a woman's womb. But a woman's womb is wisdom itself, the vast openness of the wisdom of the universe.
Beautiful. Wow. Bueno. Vamos de este lado. 2 preguntas más, una acá y otra acá. Se levantó la mano primero, ¿qué hacemos? Ahorita, bueno, vamos a ver. Pregunta. Nombre, sexo, no es cierto. Nombre, estudias, trabajas, todo.
Hi, Richard. Welcome to Jalisco. My question is, la diré en español. Si hoy el mundo estuviera dispuesto a escuchar
If today the world will be willing to listen,
solo 3 lecciones sobre compasión y responsabilidad hacia
only
los
3
demás,
lessons on compassion and
responsabilidad
responsibility
hacia los demás
towards the rest, towards,
y hacia la tierra,
and towards the earth,
¿cuáles serían estas 3 lecciones que nos puedes regalar?
what are the 3 lessons that you can give us on these matters? Is there 3? I don't know if there are 3.
O las que quieras.
Or the ones, whatever you wish, maybe more than 3.
You know, when His Holiness is asked, what's your religion? he could go to a vast exploration of Buddhist theology, Buddhist philosophy, psychology, or he could go vast, because I've heard him. The teachings can be incredibly difficult, as if you're taking a doctorate course at Harvard. But when he's asked that, invariably he says, my religion is kindness.
Wow.
All these things that we feel, we know, we do, if they're motivated by kindness, just a basic warm heart, everything will turn out fine. Everything is about our motivation, everything. We have bad motivation, it's going to be a bad action, bad result, everything. Just a simple act, going back to how we started the conversation, the simple engaging of kindness, but then also taking that kindness and marrying it to wisdom can make really good things happen. So I think that's really the central issue here, is can we all as a community reconnect with basic kindness? And then filter that kindness or expand it with wisdom into whatever you want to do. The world is so vast with possibilities. We're all different. You know, we all have stories. We're all interesting in our own way. Everybody. I never met a simple person. In 76 years, I never met a simple person. Everyone is complex and interesting, has secrets. You have a reason for being here and being as interesting and special as you are. But the connector, thank you. But the connector is that warm heart, it's kindness. And the wisdom connector of that says we're in it together. And as social beings, what we do together with a high motivation, of course, is going to bring us joy and bliss.
Thank you so much. I think you've given us one more. I only can get one more. I've been told that
But
I
on
need
top
to
of that,
close.
that was a very philosophical kind of spiritual answer. But in a practical sense, we have to elect good leaders. Very important. Vote. We get what we deserve. We in America got this guy, Trump. We deserved him. We voted this guy in a fair election. Huge mistake, but it's our responsibility. So it was a challenge to us. Stay involved. Don't back away from the world. Dive into the world. Make the world what we want it to be. Insist that we have the leaders who actually share the same vision that we have.
Thank you so much, because in Mexico, we feel very proud with the leader we have, Claudia Sheinbaum. And because, yes, we are proud. I'm proud. I know maybe you're not. I'm very proud. I'm very proud. I'm very proud because she said, no llegué sola, llegamos todas. And that's where we have to work together. Anyway, I'm not going to make political questions here, but we have one more question here, please. One more question, the last question. ¿Dónde está el micrófono? Pues tú, claro.
Voy a ceder la palabra a los jóvenes.
Espérate, no, pero eras tú. Bueno, no importa. Agarramos dos más. Vamos, adelante.
Hey, thank you for being here, for this opportunity to ask you. This project that you show us today, it's very interesting for me, and I have a daughter that I want to take to these places. So my question is, how can we support the project here on Jalisco, and how can we visit all of the things that you are doing here?
Fantastic question. Richard.
Yeah, I look, one of the partners that I'm really excited about is to have the University of Guadalajara working with us
¿Dónde está la
on this
rectora?
project. And part of it is documentation. I mean, I want the film department the anthropology, the sociology department, whatever, to be part of this experiment in being responsible and documenting how this is happening. When it doesn't work, it's documented. We correct it. We make it work. It has real people. You know, we were just talking today about this. I mean, you have an extraordinary ecosystem up in the mountains that is completely unique. Sergio, tell them about that incredible ecosystem.
Ándale.
The lovely, the talented Sergio Graf, ladies and gentlemen.
Creo que quieren oírte a ti, no a mí. Creo que tenemos una región en el sur de Jalisco que es formidable, que tiene un patrimonio natural que se asegura de la conservación de los recursos naturales de la montaña. Me quieren hablar. Rápido. Y este patrimonio es cuidado por las personas con las cuales tenemos que trabajar para asegurar un desarrollo más justo y sustentable en el futuro. Entonces, lo que tenemos es una enorme riqueza biológica y una enorme posibilidad de involucrar a mucha gente en el beneficio de estos recursos naturales.
Gracias.
Now listen, I've been told that we have to end this conversation. I'm so sorry, lo siento mucho, pero the watch I have the clock on front of me, and we have to end this conversation.
The
This
reality
wonderful
police are
conversation.
here.
Muchas gracias por esta espléndida conversación.
Muchas gracias.
Thank you.
Minister Alicia, thank you. Thank you so much. Gracias. You're fun.
You're fun. You too. Thank you so much. We do a good.
We're great. We could do this again.
Let's do it together. Thank you so much.
Not far behind the second hand